Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our October 20th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja.
Here.
Mr. Menegini.
Here.
Dr. Hayes. Mr. Gottstein.
Here.
Mr. Ball.
Here. Do I have a motion to excuse Dr. Hayes?
I'll make a motion, we excuse Dr. Hayes.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Dr. Hayes. Mr. Gottstein.
Yes.
Mr. Ball.
Yep.
Mr. Oja.
Yes. Approval minutes of the regular meeting of October 6, 2014. Any additions or corrections?
With no additions or corrections, I'll make a motion to approve as they stand.
Second.
Motion made by George, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein.
Yes.
Mr. Ball.
Yep.
Mr. Oja.
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Approval manifest 2014-19 in the amount of $349,959.52. Lee.
I see in here 4 or 5 different times, you just have to refresh me on it. Constellation Trust Company, this OPEB trust contribution.
That's an annual contribution. That's for our fiscal year that just ended. The OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits. So it's money we set aside for future payments of retirees' health care.
Okay. And just a little note here, I see that we had our lawyer fees were up a bit over last month. Page 2, Town and Country Sales, Service Repair and Parts, 1004, 792.71. What truck and what was the issue that we couldn't handle?
Let me get back to you, Lee. I'm not familiar with what that exactly was.
Ray, that's the one that you and I talked about today.
Is that page 2 or are you on the police?
I'm on page 2, under General Fund Police Department.
Police, yeah, that's the SUV. We've had a problem in the electronics. So Rick took a look at it and he couldn't, he needed to get it onto a special computer.
Okay.
They worked it out.
Farther down, last item on page 2 there, Reister and Shell. Tire, valve, wheel, $150, $325. That's for, what piece of John Deere do we have, I guess, because that's a John Deere dealer.
Yeah, Reister and Schnell, the lawnmower, the big ride and the diesel
Oh,
front mower.
okay, and we couldn't handle that in-house, or that's just parts, eh?
That's just parts.
Okay. I got a couple more here yet. Let's see. Under the Recreation Department, porta toilets, we're all done with them now. I see there's 2 different charges for City Parks and Norway Spring.
Yeah, they've all been picked up. And,
Okay.
then we had to put 2 back out at Marion Park.
Do they actually charge us for the setup and the removal of them, or is it just a monthly fee? Because it says removed, and the figure's like $461. It's an oddball figure.
There's a removal fee. There's a fee for setup and removal.
Oh, there is? Okay.
Transport, I don't know the exact number.
Let's see. And all this Leif Erikson, I assume we're getting reimbursed for all that, all the expenses on that? I know the city had donated some.
We collect all the money they take in. We actually, all the sponsors and vendor fees and race fees, we collect that revenue also.
I realize that has to go through the city.
Right.
Okay.
Did they have enough revenue? There was over $9,000 worth of expenses.
I don't know if all the expenses are in. Right now, they're about break even. Like I said, I'm not sure they turned everything into me, but they did have money in reserve from last year.
And page 9, 4th from the bottom, under wastewater, Critical Tools, Inc., one 15-gallon fuel storage safety cabinet for $694.
That is a gasoline storage cabinet?
Haven't we had one before?
No.
I would think that would have been an item that they would have had right off the bat.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's a safety issue.
Yeah, they did not have one.
They did not have one, okay. And page 10, underwater, a little more than halfway down, 5 feet of curb stop shut-off wrench, $124. Did we lose our wrench, or we need 2 of them?
Your first question is, did we lose it? Nobody told me we lost one, so let me find out if we just needed 2 of them.
Okay, that's all I have.
Chris?
Lee got most of mine. One question, was there that little activity in electric this time around, or did we miss something? We're only showing like maybe 8 lines of actual bills in electric?
Yeah, they're way down. No, we didn't miss
No money
any.
left, huh?
And it probably would be, there's still some in my folder,
Okay.
but I was on vacation last week, so they didn't get
Oh,
out.
okay, gotcha. That's all I had.
George?
I got a few legals answered, most of mine. Oh, on page 4, I don't know if the council noticed, bottom item there, the 5-gallon gas can, diesel can. At the last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, we paid $100 and some for one, and this year one here is only $25, so I think the shopping around that we do once in a while really pays off a little bit. On page 5, Trish, that $1,259.30 for Spring Valley Ranch. Please note that I don't support that. Page 9, almost on the bottom, that $6,800. Does anybody have a list of need and hunt for the water project? Now, does anybody have a list of checking on what we're paying for?
Yeah, I have a
How
running
much
list.
we have
I
left?
have a list for that. I need to give you a report on that.
You're gonna give us a report on it?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you an up-to-date report.
Okay. Okay, I hope, Ray, that you will consider on the next projects or whenever, that they do come up, if we could put together something that we could, I think it'd be very convenient for the council just to keep track of. On page 10, real development. How many more payments would there be left on this, Mary? That water bond?
That's a 40-year,
40?
yeah. So that one will be
Will we live long enough to see it paid for?
2037.
I doubt it. That's all I have.
Okay, Lee cut all my questions, so with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve manifest 2014-19 in the amount of $349,959.52.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Does anyone from the audience have any questions on the minutes, manifest, or any agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. If you have comment on any other topic, there'll be time at the end of the meeting. Anything, Gene? In communications this evening, we only have 2 items. The first one is approval fire truck purchase, new tanker pumper fire truck. We have members of the fire department here this evening. I know Chuck was the one who took the lead on getting all the grants and that. If you want to come up, Chuck, we can, just kind of present it to us. If you want to bring the backup up with you, we can have the camera catch
No, we'll
everybody.
be talking to them.
We can have the camera pan over and just show the backup too.
Yeah,
If you
we're good, we're good.
There you go.
Anyway, you do have the breakdown of the bids in front of you, and it's really kind of exciting to see that the bids were very, very tight, very close bidding process. We spent 2 long nights working on reviewing these bids, and it was found that, and also stated in your letter, it was found that the lowest bidder at, he left, $1.20 on the table. He didn't meet 2 major specs. One of them was an ISO rating that we required. It's an independent company that comes in and makes sure this truck is being built as per NFPA standards. The other 3 bidders had the ISO rating. This fella did not, or this bidder did not. And also, it was spec'd out a 210-inch wheelbase length, and the low bidder bid a 230-inch. Now, that might not sound like a lot, 20 inches on the length of the truck from axle to axle, but Dave, if you want to tell them the difference between a 20-inch wheelbase.
When we spec it out at 210 inches, that truck's gonna come roughly around 29 feet in total length, front bumper to back of the truck. When they went to 230, that truck's gonna come to our fire hall at 35 feet, 6 inches in length. That's gonna be longer than our current bumper truck in the hall. And we also have to go rural areas with this tanker. So some roads we're not gonna be able to get into, turnaround's gonna be worse yet. So that's when he extended that frame and that wheelbase, that made that truck too long for our needs. So that's why we rejected that based on wheel length.
And
We're gonna drag the back axle more than we were going to with the tighter 210 inch wheelbase.
we also brought in the city mechanic when we were making our decisions, and as soon as he heard it was a 230-inch length, he just, no, guys, we can't do that. Prior to the bidding process, I did talk to FEMA. I have a local rep that I'm supposed to use for any questions, and I was, well, maybe we'll have a question on this low bidder thing, and sure enough, it did come up. We do not have to take a low bidder. It is not a requirement. What they want us to do is take the best truck we can get for our money that meets the specifications. And the second bidder was the first one that met all the specifications. So our selection committee selected the second bidder at $251,874, which is $1,874 more than the grant of $250,000. So that's,
I see that it came in slightly over budgeted and the grant came in slightly under. Can the fire department budget handle the increased cost?
we'll talk to the chief on that one.
I think we spec'd it out in case we did go over a little bit, probably not. We had no big purchases coming in our budget when we look at where we're at.
Okay.
And the actual, not that it helps, but the actual bill, the monies won't be transferred until the truck is done. 30 days before the truck is delivered is when they can invoice us. We have a deadline of July 10th, 2015 on this truck. Anytime after that, there'll be a $150 a day fine assessed to the manufacturer. I've pretty much been assured we'll see that truck well before July 10th. Are there any questions on the process that we went through? I think this is, I'm just gonna pat the firemen on the back, and Mary Pollard, who helped me out, she was tremendous. I don't know if the council realizes what we're doing here. This is an unbelievable opportunity for us. No matter which bidder it was, that's besides the point. There aren't many fire departments that received this grant this year, and we did our job when we got this grant. The city also, besides us getting this truck, benefits. From what I understand, we're going to be retrofitting the old tanker truck and possibly using it, which is, again, approved by FEMA. If we use it internal city government. I think we're gonna be using it as a plow truck, if I'm not wrong by saying that, or something similar.
From what I understand, it'll be a sander. So the intent is to put a sanding box on it, use it as a sander scraper.
It's a year 2000 chassis with 5,000 miles on it. I mean, it's a great opportunity to use this truck. That's all I've got.
And I would like,
Kind of like you had said, just so people know, that truck can't be sold.
Correct, it
So
cannot be sold.
that's why we're rolling it back into DPW and to use it internally, because it can't be sold per the FEMA.
Exactly.
and I would like to give you a big pat on the back.
Thanks.
Because I know you did an awful lot of work on this,
It was a challenge.
and I'm sure all the council really appreciates the hard work that you and your partners over there have done.
Great, we appreciate it.
Chuck, you might want to mention here the financial breakdown.
Yes,
on
sir.
What the city's contribution is and all that.
Right, it's a $250,000 total grant. FEMA is obligated for $237,500, and Norway is obligated for 5%, which is $12,500. I was hoping to get this grant for the last couple of years, so I did budget that $12,500. It's not, we'll say it's not a big surprise that the money is there, allocated for this. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, well, I just
Okay,
want to
great.
get
Yeah,
that.
the 5% obligation has been pre-budgeted. We've been budgeting it for, I think, 3 years, and we finally got it.
You know, just for the fact that they said, well, I'm sure there's thought out there that, well, they could be using this money for something else more than fire truck. So just to show the public that,
That's
you
what
know,
it's-
this money isn't coming out of the city's pocket.
Exactly.
I just want to make a note of this and let you know, Chuck's been working on this FEMA grant, 15 years, and we finally have FEMA give us money.
Yeah,
We've had other grants and other things that we've done in the past, but this is the biggest. It took us 15 years working
Yeah.
for tanker trucks, so.
it's,
You're a slow worker, Chuck.
I know. That's something. In my claws in there, I couldn't let go.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right, guys.
I'm sure it's greatly
Oh.
appreciated.
And I did include a contract also for tonight that the clock is ticking on this FEMA grant. The clock is ticking. It's when we were approved the award, which was July 30th, I believe, August 1st, when the clock starts ticking. It didn't start ticking as of when we get the sign. It's already ticking. So we've got 9 months for this build. So I specified an 8-month build. We go out of that, so I guess what I'm saying is the contract should be signed tonight if approved.
You want us to approve it tonight? So
I would sure be nice if I could walk out with that contract. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion that Pierce Manufacturing be awarded the pumper truck bid for a price not to exceed $251,874.
Support?
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
The last thing on our agenda this evening is approval DPW tandem truck hydraulic cylinder replacement. This was an item we had tabled from last meeting. After some further discussions with the mechanic, there was kind of a time-sensitive issue with this that we needed to get rolling on getting the parts ordered. So in the intermediate time, after questions were answered that were raised at the last meeting, I did individually poll the council, and we got the okay to move ahead with this from each council member individually, without talking to them about what the other council members felt. In light of that, we moved ahead with it and we began the process. Tonight's approval is just the formal approval of what has already been individually approved by each councilman. And with that, the quote from the UP Truck Center to be approved was for a price not to exceed $2,570 for the replacement of a hydraulic lift cylinder. The intent is to go ahead and let UP Truck Center do the work on that. We're going to save the spare cylinder, the cylinder that we're removing, we're going to save and send out to have rebuilt by somebody else who's had luck rebuilding these, because we've had it rebuilt twice, and it did not hold. So we're hoping that getting it rebuilt by a different company, we will be able to keep a spare cylinder at that time. But this is just the price for the new one. The rebuild will be a different price, different thing added on at some other, in a future time. Any,
Would add, Jeremy, too, that originally we saved $320 by going this route over what originally.
yes,
quotes were.
like George said, we did save $320 by choosing to go this route rather than the original plan.
No questions, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Is there
I mean,
support?
there shouldn't be, really.
Support.
Motion made by George, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. And that's our business this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on any topic? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. Okay, seeing none. Chris?
Just one question. I know, Ray, we had started that, or hopefully started and finished the heating project in the city hall. How long has that been completed now?
Well, it's not completed
It's
yet.
not-
They're
okay.
still working this week.
Okay.
There's some boxes of wire back in the corner there.
All right, yeah. The boiler's in place, the controls are still running,
Okay.
testing wires.
So that should, we start.
Should be
seeing
this
some-
week,
okay,
actually.
We'll start seeing savings then in our bill, hopefully,
I think so.
coming
Yeah.
up there. Okay. That's all I have.
George?
Ray, can we question some of these some of your memo here on, basically on salary, not on particular salary, on issues that I think we had talked about maybe a number of years ago about banking hours.
Okay,
And-
there's no banking?
Well, I was just looking over sick pay and vacation and sick pay, and I see there's a number of people with a great deal of hours basically banked. Now, I think the idea that way we had wanted people to use them up is so that we didn't have a huge payout when they retired. Are these normal hours on some of these? Like 4,000 hours, or some 3,000 hours, 4,000 hours?
That's dollars.
Dollar.
Those are dollars, not hours. Under the contract, they have a certain amount of hours that they could buy back at the end of the year if they don't use them.
Okay, okay,
Not all of them, but there's a certain amount that they can.
okay. Are these what we had, goals that we had tried to set? Is
Yes.
that-
Yes.
Are we
And
reaching
they-
them goals?
Yes,
Okay.
and they're not rolling anything over. There's no more banking. It's,
Okay, that was basically my concern, if we had met the goals that we kind of set out so that we didn't end up with a huge number, amount of payouts.
right. I tried to, in that memo, I tried to show the savings too. I mean, you see some of the savings between 2012 and 2013. That's why we gave you both years.
Okay. I guess, I don't know how to put this thing, but Lee, you had asked a question at the last meeting, and I asked one at the meeting before about, basically mine was on the wing and yours was on that, on the pump or the park or well site up there. And you had mentioned this last meeting, that, you know, these questions were asked a year ago, if the council can remember. I asked them within the first month, I believe, when I come on the council, and, I mean, I don't know what the rest, or how the rest of the council feels, but I feel kind of frustrated when it takes a year to get an answer to come back. A number of times I mentioned that I'd like to see something put, whether it be on the council, here, or any place, where the council and everybody else knows what is going on. Projects or questions that we bring up, that, okay, either they're done or they're not done, cross them off, so everybody knows where we're standing. This is frustrating when you've got to wait a year to come back and the same questions are coming around. Lee, maybe in another year when you're still on the council, we'll probably be asking the same questions again. Because it doesn't seem like the council cares either how long it takes to get results. That's all I have, Jeremy.
Well, I know with the wing, we've talked about it throughout the year, which we haven't had a need for a truck yet. We're looking at it for the new truck. So I don't know what you were looking for in the meantime. Because what we were told a year ago was that we would look at it. And it was looked at. And our current trucks couldn't handle it without some, there was major work to make our current trucks be able to carry a wing, and that was brought back to the council.
It was?
I knew about it.
I believe I only missed one meeting, and I can't recall of listening to the discussion on it. So
Well, with that one, I don't know about what else you're talking about. With that was brought back, that the current trucks couldn't handle it without some major work done to them and major refitting done to them. That was why we didn't want to consider it for the current
Do
trucks.
you know what the major refittings were, Jeremy?
It had to do with the hydraulic.
I do.
Joke.
There was a valve bank that had to be added.
Yeah.
But I also
But also
mentioned
being able to carry the
if
wing.
the valve bank was installed on another truck, on another tandem truck. So that possibly could have fit on there.
There was also an issue though with being able to carry the wing and carry the weight of the wing.
It's a structural issue. Monroe, I met with Monroe 2 weeks ago. They were here to help spec out the new specs for the new truck. And I had them look at both of those new dump trucks. And when we looked at them, I specifically said, I want to put a wing on one of these dump trucks. What do we need to do to adapt it? And basically, they said that the underbody carriage was too long. You'd have to change the length on the underbody scraper blade. There's 2 air tanks that sit right in front of the valve bank that would have to be moved somewhere else on the truck. And they didn't know where they could move them on those trucks. They told me that it would be about the ballpark figure without an official estimate to put a wing on that truck was $17,000. And to take a truck that was adapted for it, a normal wing would cost about $13,000. So there's some extra work that needs to be done to make that happen on those trucks. But the biggest concern was the 2 saddle air tanks that sit right behind the fuel tank on the passenger side. They would have to be moved somewhere else, and they didn't really know where they were going to put them. So they recommended not putting a wing on either of those trucks.
Just because of the air tanks?
Yes. Yep.
Joe, I've been a mechanic
Well,
many, many years in my life, and this is about as much bull as I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I'll tell you what, George, I'll have Monroe come back, and you can come over to my office, and you can tell him that.
I'm not saying that you're wrong, and I'm not calling nobody a liar, but if it's a fact of just moving air tanks for
That's what they,
$4,000, then I think we better get a different company to deal with.
okay, well, that's what they told me. And they didn't know where they were gonna go with them, because there's not a lot of room on it to put them somewhere else, so. I'm just going by what the manufacturer that does this stuff all the time told me.
Anything else?
No, I guess I said enough.
Since we're on the wing, I will bring up my concerns with that now. I've been thinking about it for a while, because like you said, for a year we've been talking about a wing. Personally, even on a new truck, I don't think it's something we should be adding. I think you're adding a lot of cost for, 3 roads? You're gonna use it on a couple of roads, and in town, it's gonna be a liability, even having it hang off the edge of the truck. You're in a lot tighter spaces, you got trees, you got signs, you got cars that are all gonna be close. And you're gonna be running the risk of clipping something with them. For the little bit of time you save out on the rural roads, I don't think it's worth it to put the cost of a wing on the truck, even the new one.
Can I answer you?
Go, welcome.
Well, I'll tell you, if you take one man off the road for what you're paying in wages and compensation, I don't agree with you. And there's a number of towns, not only around here, Jeremy, but in lower Wisconsin that use wings in town. And I mean, I've known because I talk to people that run them, and I talk to mechanics that service them. So I don't know, I don't know where you're getting your information. I'm talking to people that use them and use them daily, down south further than what we are here. And they swear by them. Sure, people have to get used to them. Liability, I can understand. I mean, you got a little bit liability now when they're running the county or anybody else. How many mailboxes do we knock off here, David? I mean, you got liability no matter where you go, you got liability. So, I mean, and I asked, when I had mentioned this, I asked Joe, I said, see if you can borrow or rent a truck to take it and go out and try it in a snowstorm. That was my first request, to see if it is worth it or not. We haven't done that either.
It's because Schultz didn't have one available. It was asked.
Right, Lee?
Well, I'll stay on the same subject then. I guess you'd have to see the breakdown on it, dollar-wise, per truck, per hour, what it actually costs.
Well, I
Like
would
you got
wanna-
one truck behind the other, how much does that second truck cost compared to a unit with a wing on it?
Well, and my question would be with that, Lee, is are you gonna get it all in one pass every time with the wing, or are you going back around with that same truck twice?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
That would be my
Well,
question I would ask. in
And
that moment.
that was my question.
Can you answer that, David?
That's all in the bed, I mean, if it snows, it comes down, that's it, one pass, 3 inches, 4 inches, great. You got wind, you're going back on twice. Especially in our rural areas, our north and south roads are drift all the time. Doesn't matter if we go out there with 2 trucks, you're opening up once, come back in, 1 truck's going back out, do the same thing again, if it's windy conditions. Every snowstorm we get, we don't get nice balmy weather, we usually get northwest wind right after our snow. Our roads drift.
Well, my question was more, if you're going out with a wing, are you gonna do what the 2 trucks do with 1 truck every time first pass? Or are you gonna be having to swing that truck around because maybe you missed a spot?
It depends on, like I said, it all depends on weather, what you're gonna happen down there. When you make that first pass out in country roads, and you come back, opening up grade, you start getting snow banks up, you get 2 foot, 3 foot, you're not gonna be able to get that snow over, you pick up your speed, and they are mailbox getters, not with the truck, with the snow. Our underbodies
Yeah.
are the worst culprits right now, driving on country roads, underbody blade throws that snow straight into those mailboxes.
Yep.
Our front plow doesn't really take them off, that's the first pass, that's when they get hit. It's mostly snow. And depends how high a wind you got inside. That wind is gonna be what's no higher than the mailboxes. So, it depends. Fluffy snow great, every wet, stuff's gonna go right.
You know, Jeremy, my question or concern is, why do we have to wait so long to get results? I guess that's the bottom line that I'm looking for.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's right, George, but government works slow. And I get frustrated myself. Okay, the other item I got, your Leif Erikson seemed to be a huge success. The weather definitely cooperated, but I understand there was a little glitch in the morning with the power. I was out to the compost site today, and it looks very nice out there, except somebody had dumped a bunch of plastic containers out there. Outside of that, it was pretty good. And I see the paper is running the articles on our power situation here in the UP, and they had 4 or 5 in the paper tonight, and I wish everybody would read that. And we don't forget, in 2 weeks from now, we're having our election, so everybody get out there and vote. That's all I have.
With Lee's election, I was gonna mention that too online. November 4th, there's state, local, and there's school board. There's also federal, and there's referendums. The only local is the school board. Council is not up this time. Council is up next year. So the local would be the school board. State's got a number of elections, federal's got a number, and 2 referendums on wolf hunting.
I'd like to apologize to the community and the council for a statement that I made at the last meeting about our rates. It took me a lot of badgering to, I don't know if I got the truth out of the young man or not, but when I did talk to him this week, he said that the $80 figure, which I had mentioned at the last meeting, was a 3-month trial period and how we got involved with the system, and it was AT&T, I believe. But his rates are over $100 right now. I don't know what he all got, but I know his bills are over $100. So I just want to apologize to the community. I made a statement that he told me was true, and I argued with him, and I even mentioned the fact to him, are you sure this wasn't an introductory offer? And he swore up and down it was not, so I took the man for his word, which I'm sorry I did right now.
It's good, though, to keep an eye on that and keep watching that, and we can keep moving to keep we got to keep our rates for the cable and the internet and the phone competitive, so it's always good to keep watching it.
No, that was my statement, Jeremy. We got to stay up with times, and I mentioned at the time, are we headed in the right direction with this? That was my concern. And when you run into something like this, I mean, the fellow argued up and down that he was right, so I took the man for his word, but hey, but I'm sorry, and I accept full responsibility.
The only other thing I have besides what we've already talked about is the spring. How much longer is it staying open? Is there a set date where we're planning to close it? We know we normally go off the weather, but it's always closed by deer season. Is that still the plan?
No, it's not always closed by deer season. If we had a warmer fall than usual, we keep it open till it starts to freeze up and causing icing issues. We just kind of play it by ear every year. And usually it's around that deer season mark that it is closed, typically.
Okay.
Leaf pickup, they came down pretty hard the last couple
Yes.
weeks here. Are we going to push that up a little bit?
We're going to be starting next week
Next
on
week?
leaf pickup. Yep.
Okay, 2 runs again?
2 runs, that's correct.
Okay, I got nothing else. Joe?
I don't have anything further.
Barry? Tricia? Grant?
Very briefly, I wanted to thank Mr. Anderson on behalf of the people of the city of Norway and the surrounding areas. To hear that you've been after that grant for 15 years, I think is a fine demonstration of what it takes to get things done, perseverance, and frankly, a true model of somebody who's looking to do something for the good of the community. So we thank on behalf of the council, and I'd like to reiterate that that's a pretty amazing demonstration of community service. So thank you on behalf of everybody else as well.
Lee had mentioned before talking with Grant about some of his charges. I know that's what he was involved about, but I guess a testament of Mr. Oliveris, I think the council and the city could understand that we had one sweet deal worked out with Mr. Oliveris on what he did for the city of Norway. I Grant, not throwing no stones or anybody, but it shows what the real world is out there and what the council better expect to start
Well, and
paying
just to defend Grant a little bit on that, we paid Jay $3,000 a month. Grant's bills for this particular manifest were $3,500. So, and last month it was less than that. It was less than the $3,000 a month that we would have.
Well, the point now, Jeremy, I said, now you see them. On the manifest before, the council never seen it.
Right.
So I mean, it was just thrown in that I'd never had, outside of the fact that we knew he was getting a salary, I mean, I didn't know of anything else.
Right.
I don't have anything.
Need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.